back to the Green Talk, where we bring real conversations from the heart of the green industry. I'm your host, Mizraim J, and today I'm honored to be joined by someone that it takes a lot of work, and it does a lot of work to keep a company not just growing, but thriving. Pierre Bridger, Director of Operations at Vibrant Outdoors, has spent years perfecting the balance between growth and groundwork, making sure that as the teams expand, the quality and the culture stay strong. Pierre, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being this journey. How you feeling today?
I'm good. Thank you, Mizraim. Appreciate being on here.
Well, thank you. The pleasure is ours. I really appreciate you making the time in your agenda to be here with us today. And Pierre, I just want to start this conversation with a little bit of your background. How did you path lead you to Vibrant Outdoors? How you ended up there?
I it's a long story, but I'll give you the abbreviated one. I worked for and got a tremendous amount of great experience working for True Green. Started in 1984. Worked in 5 locations over 17 years. 7 years. The first 7 years was a residential sales representative. I was a service coordinator. I managed sales units in 2 different locations. Then I left the company to go get a master's degree. And I got a phone call from somebody I respected, regional manager, and asked me at the time to take one more position. We had purchased ChemLawn in 92. We had closed a ChemLawn branch in a location, and they had asked me to go sell commercial sales there. And so I did that and worked there from 92 to 95, and then finished my career at True Green in Indianapolis until 2001. In 2001, the owner of our company, Ben Dennett, had just left the golf course industry. He was a golf course architect for the previous 10 years. And he became a large customer of mine. I did all his spray applications. And he finally asked me, he said, "Why don't you just come and work for me?" So I did. And that was, I started with him on November 18th of 2001. And I'm still here.
Nice. Great story. A lot of work
Yes.
through all these years. Um, so all these years of work in different companies, probably different scenarios. What shaped your philosophy as a leader in operations? So, in your current position.
I think I realized early on it was critical to listen to people that had already done what I wanted to do, had already been where I wanted to go. In other words, it doesn't matter how much you know, there's always someone that knows more or knows something different than you do. And there are a few people that really caused me to stay in this industry because of the respect I had for them, because of what they taught me, and the amount of time they were willing to invest in me. That made me want to do the same thing for others.
Yeah, that's great. Be able to help other people, kind of just passing all that information, all that knowledge and
Yeah,
expertise.
yeah.
And talking about operations, more into that whole space of operations, and I don't want to say in a simple words, but how those looks like for you day by day in operations for Peer. What means that for you? Operations daily.
So we're a bit different from an operational standpoint. We do not self-provide mowing services. We contract those services out, and I have several contractors I use, vendors I use for mowing. I spend a decent amount of time trying to make sure those relationships are solid because the amount of mowing that's done as part of full service is a very high percentage of most contracts. So even though we're not self-performing, it's critical for us to have those same relationships with vendors. And I've been fortunate. I mean, until COVID, most of my contractors had been with me for 20 years. Right now, I have one that's been with me for 25 years, 22 years, 28 years prior to this company, 3, 4 years at True Green. And I'm proud of those relationships. And I'm proud of the fact that I've always tried to look at them as if they were employees because their success is so tied to our success. So I spend a decent amount of time working on those relationships. I also try to make sure that the internal relationships are solid. We have two individuals that do most of our turf and ornamental care. I have another individual that oversees all the maintenance crews. So I don't get super involved in the day to day with the crews other than I do like to go out in the shop and say hi and see what's going on. One of my guys just popped in and told me he was leaving for the day. And I like that because I've had periods of my career where I didn't have that, where there wasn't the feeling with your team that, hey, I can go, I can go pop in his office. I think that's rewarding.
It is. And actually,
It makes you feel like you are, you have an environment that's welcoming and it's positive.
totally, totally, 100%. And you mentioned a couple times relationships.
Mhm.
And one of the goals of this podcast, when I started this podcast early in the year, was to create those relationships, not just between myself and my guests, but also between all the people in the Eastern industry that it is either watching this video later or listen on the platform. It just create those relationships because I feel like it is important, really, really important in every single aspect that what we do in our industry. And sometimes we get too busy on the things that we do that we forget about it. And we just focus on in our work, which is all right, right? Nothing wrong with it. But it is important to keep building those relationships, not just externally with vendors and
Mhm.
subcontractors, but also and more important with the people in your organization.
Without a doubt.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about how you work to create that relationship with your team?
Yeah, I think the key is frequent communication. So we have as a company, we have a standing meeting on Mondays. Probably not the best day for a meeting, but it works for us. But then Brian Coy is our director of maintenance. He and I will talk. We talk multiple times a day to make sure that we've already put a schedule together, but to make sure that the schedule is going okay and to make sure that he's got everything he needs, that our whole team has everything they need. Because if they don't, the schedule doesn't matter. So the frequent communications with Brian are critical. Um, Dave Comlance oversees our turf and ornamental care, and I talk to him 2 or 3 times a day on the phone. And then we talk in the morning before he goes out, in the afternoon he just left before he leaves. I talked to him yesterday. I got a phone call and he said, it's only taken 20 years, but I finally got pulled over by the state chemist. Like, wow, who was it? He told me it was Andy Roth, an investigator. And I said, what was he looking for? I want to know how it went. He said, it was outstanding. He said he was doing license checks and he just wanted to check the license, see if we were spraying. We weren't. We're in a moderate drought like other areas are, so we're not using any herbicide. We're applying slow release fertilizers. And so he said the interaction with our regulator, with that inspector, it was really positive. And then he said he spent a half hour talking to Andy. And I mean, that was a good phone call because we've he hadn't been pulled over, but early on with the company, we got pulled over and inspected, I think twice in 3 weeks, and both of them were fine. I wasn't worried. Number one, because I know he has everything with him that he needs. I know he has his PPE. I know he has his label books. I know he's doing what the label calls to do. So I wasn't concerned. It was a good phone call. I think some folks would get that phone call and be concerned. And I thought, no, I've seen Andy Roth at pesticide review board meetings. That representative as a part of our regulator seems like a great guy. It was a positive interaction. And so I think just having the relationship with your people about your environment at work is important, but I think it's equally important to make sure they're okay. I mean, they're relatively happy. They have a decent living. They make a decent living. They don't have any issues that, are affecting because they're affecting their personal life. They're now affecting them at work. So to me, that's one of the most important things is we all have a job to do. But honestly, if we have a team member that is here and they have something they're struggling to deal with, the work is secondary until we can work on that. And that to me is critical. And I've always tried to have those relationships, those types of connections with our team members.
Yeah, focusing first on the person and
Correct.
then the
Correct.
work. That's
Hmm.
that's important. It's key.
Yes.
And we know relationship are the base of the work that we do. Also, systems are part important portion of everything we do in the field.
Hmm.
So, Byron Outdoors yourself, what kind of system you use for scheduling, logistic, quality control? Anything you can share in that part?
I think so we use LMN as our estimating software and budgeting software. That seems to do pretty well for the estimating side. Systems, what we do is we ask the individuals like Brian and like Dave that are working in the field with our team members, we ask them to come up with ways to get things done. So Brian system wise probably doesn't use as many systems as other people would use. And part of that is he is literally the most organized person I've ever been around. You would never know it. And he started with us 18 years ago. And now I'm blown away every time because we schedule everything on a whiteboard and then we have large screen televisions. That schedule is at a glance for everyone to see. And we have 4, 5 of those televisions in our office. Quite often, once jobs get to the whiteboard, we'll beat those schedules. Sometimes we're actually in front of those schedules. And that has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with our team. So I don't think I do a lot. I mean, I want to help empower other people to be great at what they do, and I'm really proud of this team. And so I wish I
That's
could tell you we have some magic bullet. I don't think there is one. I mean, we use good equipment in the field. We use higher end fertility programs, but I'm not executing those.
is
I
the
have
people.
we have people that are wonderful at their job. My goal is just to help them become as good as they want to be.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Again, focus on people and provide all the tools they need to succeed. That's the key. That's
Right.
the key.
Right.
And all this work internally reflects into growth, right? Growth is exciting, has a
Yes.
business, personal, careers, but focusing more on the business side of the growth. Growth also put pressure and on people and to also maybe incorporate new processes or protocols into the organization. So how do you balance expansion and also at the same way, maintaining the quality and productivity with your teams?
That's really important. And we are growing. In fact, this will be the first year of the last 4 that we may not grow. We've grown exponentially the previous 3 years. The last in July of 24, we hired a full-time sales representative. I'm also heavily involved in the sales process. I think one of the ways I've tried to assist with that balance is try to make sure that when any sale that we achieve, I try to make sure that I'm spending or meeting those clients, even if it's another salesperson's account. I like to make sure that what we're selling is what we're delivering. And I think to me, that's part of the trick. And that's one of the reasons why we can turn down some work. That's part of the balance. If I were to have taken, 3/4 of the work that I could have realistically sold in the last couple years, I think it would have been a nightmare ultimately to manage. I think even though I could communicate with clients' expectations, sometimes you can communicate expectations to a client, but if they have a preconceived notion of how the delivery should be for a service, you're communicating to them as the person that actually does know because they've provided that service before isn't always going to change their opinion. So part of the balance, a big part is just taking work that makes sense. Now we have 3 large I would consider our 3 largest clients. And there we actually have opportunities to take additional work from those clients. Some of it we don't want. Some of it just doesn't fit what we're good at. And we've had opportunities to do larger erosion control projects. We're really good at going into a community and doing erosion control in a common area and there's 1 or 2 ponds. I'm not going to be good at it. I'm not set up for it to do 20 or 30 acres of common area. We could do it, but we're not going to do it competitively. We're probably going to make some mistakes. And to do it the way I want to do it, yeah, I'm not going to do it competitively. So we part of the balancing act that we live weekly is picking and choosing. One of my colleagues just looked at 3 apartment communities yesterday, and I was just having a conversation with him a little bit ago, and he asked me to give him mowing prices for a couple of them, and I said, "What about the 3rd one?" He's like, "That's a dump. Don't want it." I said, "Okay." And and I don't mean it in a negative way. It's just it's he's right. I know the property. I installed a lot of their trees 25 years ago at True 27, 28 years ago at True Green. I know the property really well. Yeah, I don't know if it's a dump. I do know that it is going to be very difficult to make them happy, based on the layout of the property, based on the fees that we would have to charge to make them happy. And so the long and short of it is we're not going to put that number together. That has to be part of, at least for us, what we do every week. I would love to be able to say yes to everything. I'm also old enough to know it doesn't work. And I've had those experiences that have brought me to my beliefs currently.
Yeah, so we can say that being honest, realistic to yourself as a
Yes.
company, right?
Yes.
And at the same time, and a smart way of grow, right? Sometimes grow it doesn't mean doing more work, but it's probably we can say developing our teams or their teams to the point where teams are ready to start absorbing more work in a way on a capacity that they can perform that new job site and the standard that you're looking at. I like that. I like that concept a
And
lot.
we challenge, I mean, in our weekly Monday meeting, we just, we told the managers that we want them to continue if they're working on a property, find a superintendent, find somebody that has something to do with that property and show your face to them. Thank them for the opportunity because those small moments lead to growth. They lead to revenue growth. They also lead to personal growth for each of those individuals because they're communicating, and I'm a firm believer the more you communicate, the better you get at it. So as I talk about it, I keep coming back to the importance of personal growth.
Yeah, it's the base, it's the foundation.
It is.
And I keep listening more and more lately about picking or choosing the right client. Like no all clients or everyone is showing to your door is gonna be the right client for you or your
Right.
organization. I keep hearing that more and it is interesting that and I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It has to be some sort of filter process to that it reflects if both client and company is a good match to perform a good relationship, going back to the relationship portion of it.
You know why I think part of that is I think our industry is finally mature enough that we know it can't always work. You can't always go after everything. You can't constantly get the elephant gun out and try to be successful.
Yeah.
And because there was a time when my years at True Green in commercial sales, it wasn't that way. And nothing against True Green. It was a wonderful company to work for. I'm so thankful I did, and I have many dear friends there. But it was a time that you pursued everything. I mean, if there was lawn care, if there were 100 spots that could use lawn care on a street, you pursued every one of them. We weren't, I don't think we were as mature as an industry. We certainly weren't as mature as business people. And I think there's so many of us that have learned that that is not the way to go about it. And one of the byproducts of this is, and you're seeing this, I'm sure, in other people you've spoken to, but quite often property managers will contact me and ask for proposals. And most often I won't provide a proposal unless they will give me some of their time, 20 to 30-minute sit down meeting, an opportunity to meet face to face on a property, an opportunity to sit and have lunch. And I've had these discussions with different property managers, and I'll ask them, by the way, haven't bid anything for you in 5 years. What made you reach out today? And quite often it's like, well, we're just doing our due diligence. Okay, well, what's that mean? I want to hear a property manager tell me what that means. And it's, well, the board wants 3 bids. The board wants 4 bids, whatever. So how are you doing getting those bids from other contractors? And the response is quite often, we're not getting any. People don't want to put a proposal in. I said, well, that's because this game has gone on for decades, and we as an industry are more mature. So we're more reserved and we understand more what projects we have a good chance at getting. And we can also see, based on the behavior of a property manager, their level of interest or non-interest.
Yeah.
And I
I
can't
agree.
tell you how many property managers have agreed. They said, yes, we've created a lot of this ourselves, but no one gets their time back.
Yeah,
And
time is important. Time is
it's
important.
critical.
It's key. Is more value than a lot of things. Just I want to go back a little bit on the timeline and talk about the teams and how's the training process for your teams. Has a director of operations. How you keep your teams motivated. Just to keep up every day not just showing to work, but doing a great work, keeping up with the quality, safety, all those things.
I think from a training standpoint, training is ongoing and should be with any company. I think a lot of our training, if it's someone that's new, a lot of that training will be provided by Brian, field training. And the other part of training is we have two owners, and both of those owners will literally go out in the field and plant trees and demolish decks. A part of the training is just working alongside guys and showing them what might be a better way. I'll be honest with you, we don't have a lot of turnover. The gentleman I was telling you that just popped his head in, Angel's been with me for 20, 22 years.
That's great.
We we don't have much turnover at all. And part of it is because I think there's a belief that we all care about each other beyond these walls. So training never stops. I think we also have two individuals that do most of our turf and ornamental care. Dave is an ex golf course superintendent, and we have Dennis that's an RT. And quite often, I'll evaluate product usage after looking at a property. If it doesn't look the way we think it should from a quality standpoint, or if it looks exceptionally good, quite often Dave and I will have Dennis then go out with Dave and try to show Dave why it looks exceptionally good, what he did, or if it doesn't, try to determine based on his work with Dave that day what we might be able to help him with. Sometimes it's just not understanding some simple things about how, if you have a property that's very tight, lots of landscaping, not a lot of turf, sometimes it's no more than the logistical side of it. Use your right on here. This, don't use it at all. I mean, part of that, but I don't, sometimes I don't think you can train that. Sometimes that comes from experience. But to put, I like the idea of putting someone that's newer or less experienced with an individual that has a lot of experience, because at least what we've seen is when we do that, it's a positive experience for a crew foreman or leader that has that experience to share that with someone that has the interest in getting better and moving up and maybe becoming a foreman, or a supervisor or a registered technician. So it it never ends. It's the same thing though. Like I don't I wish I had magic. We have a fantastic team that we've put together over the years, and it is, I'm amazed when I think about it, in that the turnover levels are almost non-existent.
That's a key. That's a really good metric to define the culture into your organization.
It
Definitely.
is. It really is, and that's the best way I can define it, and that's why I always say that I think there's a belief with our team that we all truly do care more about the individual, because I think you mentioned it. If the individual is not sound, the work is not going to be. You have to focus on people.
Definitely, and I like the concept of the ongoing training. Like every day, every opportunity is a training.
It
Having
is.
having that vision is important. Always showing either by example or putting that person with someone with more experience, and be able
Absolutely.
to learn. That's a key. And so building those teams are really important.
Mhm.
And along with that, Pierre, there is any new technology that you guys are exploring to introduce, or maybe you already did, or still maybe thinking about it?
We're so we don't, as I mentioned to you, Mizraim, we don't self-perform mowing services. We have a substantial book of business with vacant lot mowing. We probably have 50 communities we provide vacant lot mowing services to at 2-week intervals throughout the growing season. We've we're and we've contemplated autonomous mowers in trying to take some of that portfolio and bring it back in to where we can self-perform it. I'm not there yet. I tried to learn as much as I could at Elevate last year. I want to learn more at Elevate this year about it. Um, the technology, I mean, we use steel green machines. We try to use newer machines out in the field. Use Chat GPT sometimes to help put a presentation together, but I only do it. It's still my idea. I just try to use it to help save time.
Shape it.
Yeah. And that's what I see assisting us more. And I want to use AI more, but it will never take, I can speak to my three largest clients. AI will never go into their office every 2 weeks and drop off gift cards and sit down and have face to face with multiple people on every visit. That's not going to happen. My clients don't want that. AI is not going to go out in the field and have either really positive conversations or really difficult conversations with those three clients. I am, as long as I do this, and because that's what they require. And I see AI helping us on the administrative side. I also have peers in our market area that are using more and more AI than I do. They're using it to text, they're using it to email, to call. I'm not there. And I think part of it is we strictly do commercial maintenance on the maintenance side. So I think it's a little bit different. I think if I had the volume in trying to look back at the true green days and the residential days and dealing with the volume, I may look at that differently. But with our business, there's no substitute for face to face.
Yeah, definitely. It's the technology, more specific AI. It's just gonna uh, keep helping us to do a better job, maybe
It is.
communicate a little better.
Yes.
And there is no way it's gonna replace the human portion of the
It's not.
business.
It's not. But I mean, there are, we're seeing more and more systems for spray units where your pressure output is regulated. There are a lot of things that are happening with the equipment. And I mean, we've used GPS for, geez, 10, 15 years, I'm guessing. We just changed providers. But today, I would guess everybody uses some type of GPS.
Yeah.
So we're looking at some things, primarily the autonomous mowing. And I just don't want to jump in too early. But I think since we're in Indianapolis, we can't jump in too early because we're already far behind. I mean, if you look at Chicago, you look at the East Coast, I mean, it's more commonplace. I have a couple competitors using autonomous mowers, but you don't see them very often.
It is coming. It is
It
helping
is
the
absolutely
industry.
coming.
It is helping the industry for sure. And I feel like companies that somehow stay in the game with keeping up with technology will be able to stay ahead of the curve. Because
Yes.
like you say, there is competitors maybe already using some sort of technology, automowers or softwares or any sort of technology that it will put you a step ahead of the
Yes.
game for sure.
We'll put you a step ahead, and the technological breakthroughs we've had over the last 20 years in the turf and ornamental industry have allowed individuals that were getting older to stay in the industry longer.
Yeah.
So that, boy, if we didn't have that, I don't know. We already have labor issues. I don't know what it would be like. Speaking for us, I don't know what it would be like when you have a 45 or 50-year-old employee and they start reaching that point where the physical work is difficult to do without any aid, without any mechanical aid. So I think we've come a long way, and it's extended the career of many folks in our industry. But I, I think on the mowing side, the autonomous mowing is going to change so much and assist us long term.
Yeah, definitely, and I feel it's gonna be good. And also it's gonna be a good way to attract new people, the new generation,
Yes,
the people that are interested on gamers, the gamers and people, the young kids that are on the computers and the phones, and maybe having a person in your organization controlling all these
right.
mowers. You never know. So the opportunities are there
Well,
for sure.
that's one of the big positives, I think, because you don't you don't necessarily have to hire what's considered a true landscaper or what people think is a landscaper. My son is 22 and makes his living on TikTok, but he loves playing games. He would be the ideal person.
Right?
Yet I've tried to bring him in to have him water flowers and sling mulch, and he's like, "Doing that?
It's
I don't
not
want
gonna happen.
anything to do with that."
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. So that there is opportunity there for
Yes.
to exploring new job roles for the younger people. Pierre, I wanted to talk about move a little bit into the field of leadership.
Mhm.
Okay, you have a position where people see you as a leader, and you are a leader for them. So, what is one practice that you have found that is truly helping you to keep you crews motivated and uh, keeping them with you? I know you mentioned it that your turnover is very minimum, but there is one specific practice that you have in your operations and your interactions with your team that it is helping you specifically to keep that relationship with them?
I think I'm not sure how I would define it, but I think a part of it is trying to take tasks that have to be done by, like, let's say a manager, a turf applicator, or Brian supervising multiple crews, trying to take a task that that supervisor might normally do with a lot of companies, with most companies, taking that off their plate. In some cases, well, I'll give you an example of when we treat paired patio homes, apartment communities, condominiums, we'll have a pre-notification anytime we're applying fertilizer, herbicide, any pesticide. I literally have made those call aheads and pre-notification ever since I've been here from day one. When I was at True Green, the technician did all that themselves. So for 24 years, I've done that. Now, well, I've done it. I turned it over to my assistant about 6 months ago. We just turned it over to Dave, who manages our turf and ornamental. And I said, this is going to be best done by you. You know what material you're using, you know what rate you're using it at, you know the properties. And so I would appreciate it if you would just go ahead and handle these. He's like, I would have done it. You never asked. Like, I know I never asked. I didn't want you to have to. Going and again, little things, going and getting plans, construction plans, landscape plans at Kinko's for Brian. So he doesn't have to do it. He would do it, but I would like to be able to take that off his hands because it's something that while he would do it, it's not what he should be focusing on. So between Samantha, my assistant, and I, we try to take some of those little tasks off when they need another label added to their label book. We'll take care of it. We'll do it. In my younger days, I would help plant trees, load trucks. I don't do as much of that anymore, but I'll certainly help unload a truck when it comes here because I guess I don't know what I would call it, but to me, it's try to take some of the little things off of the plate of your team members so they can focus on the big things because everyone has so many tasks to do. today that they don't always have to do with the execution of what you deliver in the field. And
Right.
I think you can have people in a more positive mental state if you can let them focus on what they're really good at. I have at times 5 screens going. That's not what I'm good at. I mean, our ownership team has said, "We want you to go meet with our customers even more. We want to get you out of here." They're doing the same thing that I was just talking about because I don't want to sit behind a computer. I can do that, but that's not my value. So I think it's allowing your team members to be better at doing their job. And
People
it's
first, we can say that.
yeah, and but it's different for each individual. It's just to try I try to do that with my wife. Not enough, but I try to do that with my wife. Take some of the things off of her plate so she knows, and that's the same thing with work. I mean, so that every individual knows that they're cared for, that they're respected, and that we're always thinking about them and know that they do have a difficult job. And while we can't be with them all the time, there are some things we can do to at least help make their day a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I understand perfectly what you're saying because when you work with or you keep these relationships longer with your teams, and then you get to know them better, and
Correct.
then you can identify exactly how to approach each of them because they're different, right? Different personalities, different
Very different.
backgrounds. So the more you know them, the better you can communicate to them, the better you can help them. and,
Yes.
and the bottom line is like prioritizing their needs of others helps also ourselves, or in this case yourself,
Mhm.
just to as a whole, as a team, just to keep moving forward in the same direction, helping to each other. So it is a reciprocal thing, and
It is.
that's an amazing thing to do. That's great.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
great. That's awesome. And so, Piers, what do you think about our industry in the future? Let's say 5 years from now, what's your vision has an industry in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, we're going to see autonomous mowing everywhere except for Indianapolis. No, I'm kidding. I hope it's everywhere. I think it will be. I also believe 5 years from now, we're going to see more challenges legislatively as it relates to pesticide use. We are seeing it on the East Coast. We're seeing it on the West Coast. It's been both places for a while. It's in the plains. We, as an industry, need to be more involved legislatively, and legislators need to understand how many people work in the landscape industry. And we try to make that clear in the state of Indiana. But one of the most important things that I see is the individuals that make their living, feed their families, take care of their employees in this industry. Many times there is a disconnect on why they have the ability to go work without interference from the state or the federal government. It's not by chance. And there are state and federal issues being addressed all the time by trade associations. So I think one of the challenges is to continue to get more individuals that make their living in this industry involved in the legislative process, going to trade association meetings, getting involved in a trade association, talking to your legislators, going to legislative luncheons. That all carries a lot of weight. And the more that that occurs, the more a government representative in a state understands how big this industry is, how many people are employed, why it's important. To me, that is one of the biggest challenges for the future. We have to beware of government overreach. And we talked about it earlier. I mean, offline immigration. During COVID, the state of Indiana was deemed, the landscape industry was deemed essential, lumped in with agriculture. Not in the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan got shut down. We continue to work. continued. It's because legislatively we're very organized. We had a relationship with the governor's office, regularly communicated with that office, but nobody really understood that. People just continued to work. And so what Indiana Outdoor Management Alliance has been trying to do, we've been trying to get the message out that there is a reason that you continue to work. And so we've shared how that happened, but now it's important to get more people involved because there will be another crisis.
Yes,
I mean, we know there'll be another crisis. I don't know whether it will be health, it could be pesticide related, it could be water related, but being organized is the key. That is one of my biggest concerns for this industry.
definitely. Yeah, it's a challenge that everyone is facing, and we hope that somehow things can get straight and we all can look to a brighter future
Absolutely.
in the industry because it is tough at the moment, but we have hope.
We
Definitely,
absolutely do. And the
that's
beautiful
for sure.
thing is, Mizraim, I remember at True Green, there was such a negative connotation about people in the lawn care and landscape industry. It's like, yeah, they're not educated. Well, they couldn't really do anything else. And it's like I tell my friends all the time, I know some really, really smart people in this industry, men and women. And it's nice. And now I love hearing somebody say it because I'll I'll engage them on that because this industry is filled with brilliant people.
Yeah, what really makes the industry different is the people. just
Absolutely.
just just like that, period. And I agree with you, there is many people, women's, men out there, really really smart, doing great things,
Yes.
that their voices needs to be heard, and everything they're doing somehow it needs to be, come up to the surface, and people need to know. But this, I mean, it's excited, so hopefully things get better. That's the hope. And kind of the same line, Pierre, and just before we end this great conversation, I would like to ask you any advice for the new generation, either coming into the industry or new people that are already in the industry, and maybe they're thinking on, I should stay, I just should move something else. Any advice in general that you can give them?
I think if you're in the industry but you're new to the industry, don't make a snap decision. I think if you're new in the industry, I remember going to True Green and I had a manager that's since passed away and he told me when he hired me that you really won't understand what we do for 18 months. You have to see round one and get back through round one and get to the summer. Then you'll understand what we do. And I always remembered that. And so I think the first thing is if you're new in the industry, give it enough time to see if you like it and it likes you. And so I think, yeah, it's probably 18 months. But the important part is don't just don't just bide your time. Seek people, seek to interact and connect with people that have done what you're doing or what you want to do and learn from others. If you're not in the industry and you're thinking about getting in the industry, then I would certainly seek people out that have retired from the industry that can tell you no BS, the good, the bad, anything that's worse than bad, the ups and downs, and what Bob Avenius was my regional technical manager at True Green when I was there, and I wanted an R&D position. And he's like, "Well, you're selling commercial right now. I can get you an R&D position in Columbus, but you're going to take a pay cut." I said, "What do you mean a pay cut?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, you're going to take a big pay cut." Like, Bob, I don't want to do that. Bob would call me sometimes and he's like, "We got a spill. You want to spend 3 or 4 hours with me?" And he did that because he knew I had interest in everything technical. He is a reason that I stayed in this industry. Now, that was back in 2000, 2001. I'm still here. And people like that are the reason because I made it known that I want to learn. I don't know everything. And I think if you're thinking about getting in this industry, seek out some folks that have already done it. It's a great industry. It's changing as an industry. I think we are going to continue to have better opportunities to provide improved wages, improved compensation plans, but we also have to continue recruiting and we have to have the labor to get there. I wish it was easy. It's not.
It is not, but it is exciting. It is challenging, but it is exciting. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I appreciated those advices are great, and that's reality. That's what we're facing, and so always getting that mentorship, that person that it will help you to get in a better understanding of the things of the industry, the goods and the bads. So that's great. Pierce, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to sit down with me. I really appreciate it. Great conversation, beautiful things you're doing up there in Indiana, and keep up the good work with your team. So, thank you for all the advices, or the knowledge, or the insights on your personal experience in the industry and your career. I really believe that many people will be benefit from this conversation. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed the conversation and I want the best for this industry. And man, I think we've got great people. We just need to get more great people.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Yep.
So thank you so much again, and to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. And if you like this episode, like and share, and we'll see you the next time. This is the Green Talk.